we found out it's all about the way kids learn, that they learn different ways. And we're forcing them to learn one specific way. Whereas what VR does is give them a chance to get hands-on and go to a place and awaken spatial memory. And that way, they'll not only learn, but they'll retain what they learn. Because what VR does is put you in a place. It puts a place inside of you by putting you in a place. It's like the difference between looking at a television program of Disneyland versus going to Disneyland. If you go to Disneyland, you never forget it. I guess you'd say my life has sort of been sort of like a play with four acts. You know, there was the act one, which was growing up in this amazing place in Western North Carolina, bordering on the Pisgah National Forest. And I love the outdoors. I lived in a village with lots of kids. My father worked at a plant, a rayon nylon plant close by, and it was an idyllic childhood. It was perfect. We played in the woods. We had snowball fights, acorn fights, and I went to great schools, had great friends. So I was blessed in that way. And but I was sort of a nerdy kid too. Even though I liked to play sports, I was sort of a nerd. I loved, for some reason, I got interested in electronics and science and things like that. And I remember that I was 7 years old. I would get the opportunity to go over to my grandfather's house and actually spend a couple of weeks just with my grandfather. And I was really interested in robots. I'd read science fiction stuff and things like that. I was interested in robots. And so what I would do is take these cardboard boxes in my Rector set, and I would make my own control panels that out of cardboard and move the switches around. And then I said, this is how I want to control my robot. And then I built a box that was the robot. And then I said, well, wait a minute. If I'm remotely controlling the robot, how can I be where the robot is? And I said, well, what I'll do is pretend that the robot has a head, has eyes and ears. And I built a box with toilet paper rolls with the eyes and the ears for this robot. And then inside the house where my control panel was, I built a box and put it on my head. And the box on my head had the relay of the picture that the robot was seeing into my eyes and what the robot was hearing. This is 7 years old now. I'd forgotten about that I had been doing that until one day when I was sitting in my virtual cockpit, realizing, oh my goodness, this is deja vu all over again. Now, here I am, having gone through these two acts into the third act. The first act being growing up and going to university. Second act, the U.S. Air Force, which was fantastic. And then the University of Washington. And I just went emeritus at the University of Washington in September. Now I'm an emeritus professor, but I don't teach. I'm not in the classroom like I used to be. So now I'm in transition to the fourth act at 79 years old. And I am so excited. That's now one of the areas where I'm concentrating in this third phase, because this is transformative. We're working on a global movement that actually lifts humanity through the virtual world society. Some of these are high school dropouts. Some of them are university faculty. Others are students. And it's so fun because we're inventing and discovering so many far out cool things. And then the third part of my fourth phase, my fourth act, about the story of my journey and the amazing people that that I encountered along the way, and the projects that we did and what we learned. I've spent more time in VR than anybody on the planet, and I've learned a lot. And I want to tell the story of what I've learned and how I learned it, and what does it mean, and where do we go from here.
Virtual reality and emerging tech can be really intimidating. These type of technologies aren't just intimidating because they're new to some of the communities that I take them to, but because I work in communities that don't have access to a lot of things in general. So when I bring something, sometimes there's a standoffishness. Sometimes people are a little nervous about interacting with me. But I build a lot on the trust of just connecting to people as humans. Sometimes, even in the deepest relationships that I have with people, they're too embarrassed to let me into their homes even. They are happy to interact with me at school, they're happy to interact with me within the community or even at my house, but what their hope is that one day they can come back and show me how they've been able to change their lives, because they're not as confident about the lives that they live now, but they know that they want something more, and they know that the things that the Virtual World Society can offer them through their programs can make a different, better world for themselves and for the people that they love.
Seeing as how the community that we come from is so underfunded, and there's so low wages, and there's a lot of poverty, to just be like completely honest. There's a lot of poverty and stuff like that, and so this is something that myself and others would never think about having, because this is like this and other technology you just don't have the money for, so you just don't even get your hopes up for it at all, and so that's why you don't learn about stuff like this.
I think that the reason this exists is because of the poverty level in the Native community. They just don't have it. Like, people are getting their electricity turned off, and they go to the tribe, and the tribe will help them to keep it on. You know, I don't hear of very many non-Native families that are like, my electricity is going to get cut off, you know, and so it's a very real thing to us in our world, but not necessarily in other people's world.
Well, I think one of the struggles would be also out here is being able to afford the internet it takes to make VR possible, and also being able to afford it, because not everybody, we've been blessed, you know, with a husband who loves to play on Craigslist and Facebook yard sale sites and stuff. That's how we actually bought our very first VR headset. But, you know, to you, honestly, even me, I am not an elderly person yet, but I still have questions.
Yeah, money thing is really the only issue, but that's it. I mean, you could probably take an area of like 5 miles or so, and it's just maybe a few people, handful group. I think Rita's what, 1 or 2 miles away? So, and she's one of the only few people that we know that aren't crackheads, you know, that are in this area.
You know, there's that digital divide, is that these guys feel like, and some of it's feeling and some of it's I can't because I literally don't have the resources. And those that are like, the possibilities are endless. I can get the resources, I can get the training, and they go with it. And then you just, in the Native community, you just leave them behind because they don't have those things.
A lot of the programs that get funded through the Virtual World Society help people magnify themselves in existing situations. So we have employers that maybe have given responsibility to their employees, but not the technical skills that they need or even the technology they need in order to really do their job to the best of their abilities. And so we provide that technology and that training and that space for people to feel comfortable to take the next step in their employment journey. The other thing that happens, I find a lot, is that there are personality developments in people. While we do a lot to create better working environments and give people the technology and the skills that they need in order to improve themselves, what's really happening is that they're transforming as a person. Here's what has happened. We have rural young people who don't have access even to visit friends. Now they have friends online. We have people in technical jobs that don't have a headset to learn how to do their jobs better. Now they have a headset and they're doing their jobs better.
I'm glad that we have people like you and like Virtual World Society and stuff that can come and give us this experience, because this isn't stuff that we don't find this at home. You might find this in bigger schools, bigger communities and stuff, but we won't ever.
For me, the biggest thing is I see through my work, through my family, that Native kids are always left behind. And so they're always saying, like, I really wish I could have this. And, you know, as their parents, you know, me and their parents were just like, we can't afford that. We don't know how to use that, you know. And so now it's like, okay, I can start. I can start using this. We're not perfect, you know, you'll have to do a lot of practice and whatnot. And they're like, well, can we come over and hang out? And we're like, yeah, you know, we want to share, because they don't have that opportunity.
With the resources I have been given, has at least made some kind of change in my community and brought this technology to a little small town that would probably turn their nose up at it.
I would tell Tom Furness that it helped me out in like discovering more about technology and about all this stuff I never would have known.
What would you tell him? I would tell Tom, thank you very much, because for this experience for her, because it has brought her out of her shell a little bit, you know, her nervousness and being able to talk. Basically, she didn't talk very much, but it's opened up a new world for her.
Why should they give us more headsets?
I could be talking, like a while ago, I was talking to people from Florida, Washington, Oregon. It allows the person to break out of the loop, I would say. You know, those people aren't going to be able to get, you know, into those things every day. You know, it's going to be their one chance. If they miss out, it's fine. You providing headsets, I guess, was that one ticket for me, and I took it. You know. I was able to unlock a new path.
We have put thousands of people in virtual reality headsets, helped numerous families join the metaverse through VR across the United States. Since 2015, we have been working to build solid relationships with families, especially in rural and impoverished areas. I have seen firsthand how this technology can help make the world a better place, and can only hope that more families and people can gain access to new emerging opportunities through the Virtual World Society and our HomeSpark and SkillSpark programs. Let me add that these families have spent countless hours in the virtual worlds that we have provided for them, allowing them to gain more knowledge and have fun at the same time than they could ever do from being in a brick and mortar school.